Hi everyone, this is Bill Rand coming to you to talk to you about MBA 590. Uh, this week we got a couple of big things going on. I just realized I need to change over um, the week number. It says the wrong week. It says week 7 into week 8 now. So let me fix that real quick. But while that's going on, we have two kind of major things to talk about today, then a couple of minor things. The two major things are that that you have the situation analysis and marketing goals due tomorrow night at midnight. And then the other major thing is that I'm going to be handing out the analytics assignment. It's not up online yet, but will be shortly, and I've completed it, and I want to kind of talk it over with you a little bit during this office hours. For the situation and marketing goals, if anyone has any questions who's tuning in this week, please let me know. I haven't seen too many. I'll talk a little bit about what I've gotten in terms of questions that have come in overall, but there aren't a whole lot. So hopefully everyone kind of understands what they're supposed to be doing and kind of has all that kind of put together and gets it. If you do have any questions and they come up at the last minute, please let me know. I could try and address them online as we're going forward. Okay. Just pulling up my email just to see if there's any questions in there real quickly. I don't see anything yet. I did. So the questions I have had that have come in recently. One was about the use of marketing surveys and how to best incorporate them. And someone had done one, which is great. They put together a Google form and they'd send it out, and they were planning to include notes about it in the actual write-up, but they weren't quite sure about whether or not to include a live link to the form. If you want to do that, if you want to actually give me a link to the Google Doc where you collect it, or Google form where you collect the data, or SurveyMonkey, or whatever it is that you use, that's fine. There's no requirement to do that, but I think the more detail you can give me on these things, the better, the more impressive it looks, right? There was also, just to reiterate, what I'm really looking for you in this turn-in that's due tomorrow night, is a situation analysis of your firm, kind of a standard SWOT analysis with some additional detail, and then then 3 to 5 SMART goals, right? SMART marketing objectives. And I think that the place where people lose the most points on this turn-in usually is those SMART goals. And just to be very clear about it, right? I'm looking for like a bulleted list of those SMART goals, where each bullet contains essentially 3 pieces of information: the exact SMART goal itself, the KPIs that might support that SMART goal, and a justification for why that SMART goal is important. And when I say SMART goal, I mean a specific, measurable, attainable, or assignable, realistic, and timely SMART goal, right? And all 5 of those things should be within the goal, right? So it should, I don't want a generic, we will improve brand awareness, right? I want to, we will improve brand awareness by by using a survey instrument before and after the campaign over the next 6 months for a level of 10%. Now that one might actually be too detailed for what you need to put in there, but you kind of get the idea. Err on the side of being more detailed rather than being not detailed enough. One other question that came in that I just remembered as I was talking through this is that somebody asked, there's a question about demand trends. And first of all, let me take a step back and just reiterate what I often do with this marketing plan, is say that the demand, all the questions are not really meant to be, you have to answer each in order, right? They're more meant to be suggestions for what kind of content you might put in there. Overall, for this one, what I'm really looking at the big picture is, have you described the situation the firm is in well enough that you can start thinking about what a digital marketing plan might look to address the concerns of the firm, and then have you used that to well justify these 3 to 5 marketing goals. That's really what I'm looking at. That's what you're going to be graded on. Everything else is kind of just suggestions about how you might achieve that goal, right? Anyway, so specifically about the demand trend. They were asking, do you mean the demand overall for like the industry, or do you mean for the product, or do you mean for the firm, right? And the answer to some of the extent is yes, right? It depends upon what you want to talk about. But think about it clearly in the context of digital marketing, right? Like, if you're, say for instance, you're in an industry that's doing really well, but for some reason the firm isn't doing considerably well, you could argue that the digital marketing plan is a way to kind of have the firm do well as well, right? So consider it within that context, and then answer the parts that you need to, right? I mean, I could also see that you only want to, you can say demand for the firm is really lacking, and we want to boost it, right? And maybe it's worth mentioning that within the context of the industry, the demand is also lacking too as well, right? But maybe there's some way that you need to look into that, right? So if you have any questions about the situation analysis and marketing goals, please let me know. You still have, over 24 hours to turn in. I will try to get answers back to you as quickly as possible. Okay. So with that being said, let me switch over to the other big kind of elephant in the room, which is the analytical assignment. And I'm about to show you what it is. I have not put it up online yet, but as soon as I get offline, I will spend some time getting all this stuff up online for you. I do have it finished, but I just finished it. I wanted to tweak some things, and so I finished those tweaks just before I started this stream. One small other note, because we have the analytics assignment, right, that will be handed out tonight, there is no reading assignment. There's no top hat discussion for the next 2 weeks. The other thing is, obviously next week is spring break, so there's no office hours. I will be online. I don't have a spring break, so I will be happy to answer questions. But there's no office hours, right? So that also means that the analytics assignment itself is not due until after spring break, right? And that's also the case. And after spring break, I'll mention this briefly now before we start talking about the analytics assignment, and I'll recap it at the end. There is also going to be a time for you all. I'm going to have the situation analysis. I just talked with the grader. Situation analysis and marketing goals graded by a week from Monday, and the goal for that is that sometime during that week, so this is 2 weeks from now, right? We are going to have a discussion, you and your group and I, online in whatever teleconferencing platform you choose to use to talk about how the project is going, right? And I'm going to wait till after the situation analysis and marketing goals is graded to have that conversation because it's obviously related to what we're going to talk about, right? So you'll get those grades back, and then sometime during that time we'll have a conversation. I will set up half-hour slots from 5 to 8 p.m. For that week. If for some reason there's too many conflicts and we need to schedule some time outside of that, I can add additional time slots the next week as well, right? But that's kind of the way I usually handle it. You should see that sign-up sheet sometime in the next few days, basically, okay? So that's the last important thing to talk about. I'm just making notes to myself to recap at the end all these things. So, sounds good. So, the other thing to mention is that, of course, the videos are up for web development, and there's ones that kind of even teach you how to do a little bit of web development yourself using Glyphy and Balsamic and Wix. And those will be the hands-on videos for this week. So make sure you're watching those videos in addition to the group project and the individual project. So I've now covered all my topics, I think, in terms of what you need to be working on. So I'm going to introduce you to the individual assignments, okay? Pull this out correctly. So there's kind of similar to the previous assignment. There is a reading. The reading in this case is not really what the assignment's about. The assignment's actually kind of independent of the reading, but the reading just gives you some background for the assignment. I've just found it useful to place it in the context of what's going on. So here is the assignment, the reading. So it's a reading about a company called Brandless, which some of you might have heard about. It is a new startup that just raised $50 million. Well, it raised $50 million last summer. I don't know. May have raised more since then. It's still up and running. I've checked the website out. I hope to actually it looks kind of cool. I might sign up for it myself. But it's the context for the assignment. So the assignment is assuming that you are kind of the analytics person for Brandless. How are you going to start doing their analytics, right? So if I click over to the actual analytics exam, you'll see what the questions are. So in this assignment, you're going to place yourself in the situation of working for Brandless, a startup firm that sells every item for the same price. See the company meeting. So Brandless sells household items, health, beauty, kind of like grocery store type items, but they sell everything's $3 no matter what, right? So you're going to basically be tasked with setting up their analytics, and so you want to respond to the questions below to illustrate how you got your answer. So the founders of the firm, Tina Sharkley and Ida Leffler, they've already developed the website, but they want to make some changes. In particular, they have a blog that is posted 2 weekly. So if you go to the Brandless website, right, you can see, actually I'm not on the main page, let me go back to it. They have a blog that's kind of up here, right? And they're interested in driving more traffic to the blog because they think that the traffic on the blog encourages customer retention, right? So how can you drive additional traffic to the blog? So there is, the first question asks you to describe 3 different types of changes that you might examine using an A/B test and 3 KPIs, one for each of those changes, that you might use to measure whether or not, 3 KPIs not necessarily tied to those changes, just 3 KPIs that you might use for any of those changes to determine whether or not the changes are able to achieve the founder's goal. Right? So this is kind of designing an A/B test, which we talked about, and choosing measurements that might show whether or not you've achieved those A/B tests. So the second question is, assume that the website gets about 10,000 visitors a day, of which only about 200 visitors read the blog, right? And you're considering making one of the changes that you developed in question 1. The founders say they want to see at minimum 100 additional visitors or a 50% relative improvement in the conversion rate, right? And they are willing to accept standard statistical significance, 0.05 or 95% sometimes is referred to, and power, 0.8. Like, how long would you need to run the A/B test for to determine that you have seen enough visitors to answer this question, right? And that's the whole, we had a whole discussion, right, when we talked about analytics about how to do this. Right? And so the third question is, the founders have decided that during the website redesign, they want to identify some new keyword phrases for SEO, right? And this is organic search. Identify 5 maximum return keyword phrases. This is using the maximum return keyword phrase architecture framework we talked about around online groceries and household items, and explain why you have chosen those keywords. Specifically, make sure you describe why they are MRKP in terms of the 4 components: high volume, low competition, high conversion rate, high customer lifetime value. You can use web-based research to help you answer this question. Now, some of these things you may not be able to get exact numbers for, and that's fine, as long as you can justify why you think they would give you, for instance, a high customer lifetime value. The fourth question is, the founders have also decided to invest some money in search advertising as well. They specifically want to see people signing up for their Be More program. So the Be More program is, I gotta go back to Brandless itself. Right, there we go. So the Be More program is a membership program they have where you get free shipping, and there's some charity benefits. They donate 10 meals when you sign up, and 2 or more every time you ship, right? So it's kind of it's a program they have to kind of like an Amazon Prime kind of almost program that they have set up. So they want to do search advertising directly to get people to sign up more for this program, right? Can you provide at least 3 KPIs that Brandless should be tracking to see if their search advertising is actually working? Okay. And then the final question, I'm giving you some kind of synthetic data where they've actually gone out and they've invested in 3 keyword phrases: grocery delivery plus grocery delivery rates, which means that plus is the broad extension. It means that the word grocery has to be in the search, right? And then grocery delivery in the brackets, which means it only match against that particular phrase, right? And I show you that, as you might expect for more general, broader terms, the impressions are higher, but the clicks are fewer for the lower ones, right? So the click-through rate. The actual click-through rate might be about the same, but the number of clicks, the aggregate number of clicks is lower. And as you might imagine, the acquisitions go up as you get narrower and narrower because your product is more and more targeted to what people are searching for, right? And then I give you an average cost per click. And the real question I ask is just, let's imagine that the average customer lifetime value of a particular customer who signs up for a Be More membership is $200, right? And in this case, an acquisition means that the person actually signed up for Be More membership, right? So if the acquisition means they signed up for Be More membership, and I give you all the rest of these numbers, you should be able to figure out whether or not they should continue to invest in each of these keywords. It might be the case that they're spending more on search advertising than what they're getting back in profits for some of these keyword phrases. So I want you to identify which, if any, that is, and explain why or why not you would continue to invest in those keyword phrases. Okay, so that is the exam. If there are, sorry, that's not what I want to do. Let me switch back over this way. Okay, so that is the exam. I will be posting it shortly, and you have essentially 2 weeks and a change to work on it. It'll be due March 15th at 11:55 p.m. So if there are any questions about them, feel free to shoot them to me. I will, besides putting the actual exam text, I will link to the Business Insider article that I was showing you, as well as the Brandless website itself. Okay. Yeah, so that's the big thing I wanted to talk about today. If there's any questions, let me know. I'm going to quickly check email and a couple other places just to see if there's any other questions that have come in. I don't see anything. So just to kind of reiterate back from the top, I have on my list that there are 4 major things you should be working on this day, right? The first is making sure your situation analysis and marketing objectives are turned in by 11:55 p.m. tonight, right? The second is to get started on this analytics exam that we are turning back around to you, right? I'm posting as soon as I'm done with this call. The third is to sign up for the conferences that will happen in 2 weeks. So that'll be around the week of March 11th and so forth, right? So I will put up a link to sign up for those conferences up online. And then the fourth thing is to obviously stay up to date on the content that's being pushed to Moodle, right? So you should be watching the videos on website design right now, and kind of getting through all that, as well as the practical demos on Balsamiq, Liffey, and Wix. And by the way, Balsamiq, Liffey, and Wix, they're great for the group project. So if you want to kind of demo up some examples and some content, which is one of the things they ask, is for you to actually submit some creative with your group project, they give you a way to do that. Okay. So that's it. Any questions? I just realized when I was reading over the analytics exam, I'm going to change the wording just slightly on one question, but it's exactly the way I explained it. So the wording won't be exactly the same as what you saw, but it's the way I explained it, and I just want to make sure it's clear in there. Okay. Okay. Good. Well, thanks everyone for being here, and hopefully. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to also say, hopefully you got your grades back on the conceptual exam and the project introductions. If you have any questions about those, please let me know. Okay. Thanks, everyone. I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks because we're off next week for spring break. Okay. Take care. Bye.